Welcome to Releasing Weight So It Never Comes Back, Ageless Energy, Metabolic Flexibility, and Your Emotions. That's a handful, huh? Mouthful. How many of you have lost weight and gained it back? Anyone? Me, yes. And how many of you are concerned about creeping pounds or less energy? Yeah, I've had that, yes. And how many have a health challenge? And if you don't know if you have a health challenge, maybe you haven't been diagnosed with anything, but as a former nurse, I think anyone taking any kind of prescription drug has some kind of health issue.
I don't take anything yet, which is
good. We'll keep it that way.
exactly.
Okay, so I would like each of you to share something about yourself and what inspired you to come to this class and what you hope to learn more about. So I'll start with Jenna. Would you like to start?
Sure. What inspired me with this class was that weight is really a concern for me. And the older I'm getting, the harder it is to get off. I lost weight maybe like a couple of years ago. I mean, I only gained 5 back, but still it's creeping up. So I thought I would hear other options, things that I could do better, some ideas. And that's what inspired me. And summer and spring is coming, and I want to be fit and have energy. So that's kind of like why I'm here today.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And Linda, what inspired you? Tell us about yourself.
Oh, I always lose weight if I restrict my diet and eat raw vegan. But then if I go back to normal eating, I gain it back. It's very hard to stick to a diet with no fat, no sugar, no oil. It's very difficult. I'm not sure if I want to do that to maintain weight loss.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm very good at designating meals. I don't snack. I'm eating fiber right now. I wouldn't consider that a snack.
Okay, great.
It was fiber flakes that thickened last night, and I didn't finish it.
Well, we have to have fat. Just a matter of what kind, okay? We don't want anyone to be on low fat or no fat. But we'll talk about that. And Kathy?
Yeah, so I've picked up a lot of weight, particularly once COVID started, because I stopped exercising. I'm kind of out in Chicago now because my kids are here. I've lost a little bit of my friend group, and I guess my activity levels have really declined. And then, I eat, and then all of a sudden, 30 pounds later, you wake up and you're like, okay, this is not really sustainable on a go forward basis. So trying to get back into it. I was mentioning before everybody got on, I've started doing Pilates and just trying to slowly get myself moving again, and then figuring out if there's something we're going to see or talk about today that will trigger in me what I need to do or get my motivation going.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Carol, you're next.
Hi, I'm Carol. And well, I'm working on losing weight. And as I've aged, it's gotten to be where I stay the same weight, but the distribution of muscle versus fat has changed. And I'm like, okay, I'm walking my dog. I'm going to exercise more, but I do have health challenges that have in the past sometimes prevented me. And I also have some addictive eating habits that are also a concern. And so, yeah, I want to see if there's anything new out there that I can do that will get me really going, because I'm just retiring from my business, the physical aspect of massage, and my year is going to be self-care.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you for sharing. So I want to share, let's see if I can do this view. Make sure I'm in speaker view. There we go. I don't, can you see me on the main screen now? Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about me. I'm the founder of Miracles in Wellness. I'm a retired nurse practitioner, and I've studied a lot about natural health and for many years. I think since at least 2004 or 6. In 2007, I found Dr. Mercola. Anyone heard of Dr. Mercola? Yeah, he's cool. And he's the one that inspired me to like really get into this, because I was inspired for myself. So like I said, as a young person, I didn't have weight issues. I mean, I loved to bake every week. I ate sweets. I still like sweets, but I try to eat more limited and, healthier ones. And as a new mom at the age of 31 and a half, I was 105. And I blossomed up to like almost 140 in my early 50s. I mean, I have pictures of myself, and I did look heavier. So I decided to get a little healthier. So I eliminated most sweets and bread. And I wasn't really a juice person, but I did release like 14 pounds and I felt good about myself. But maintaining a healthy weight was still an issue. I remember going on a cruise in 2019 around New Zealand and we talked to the some ship people that were in charge of the fitness and weight, and I think my weight was like 132, so I gained a lot back. And the things that I tried before, besides not eating sweets and bread, I fasted like once a year, twice a year, 3 days on like just vegetable juice. And I don't recommend that now. By the third day, my energy was all wiped out. And I also tried just fasting 1 day a month, and that was sort of helpful, but like I said, I gained it back. So issues of weight are important because according to Dr. Mercola, 95% or more of us are what he calls metabolically inflexible. And I'll describe what that means. Maybe it's 97. It's at least 95% of us. And weight issues are major drivers of disease and parasite infections, which is related to disease, and even COVID does. So having a healthier weight, I call metabolic flexibility, is important. So what is metabolic flexibility? It means putting yourself in fat burning mode some of the time. And when you create metabolic flexibility, you lower inflammation in your body, you normalize insulin levels, you have healthy mitochondria, which means you have more energy. you maximize cellular regeneration, and you keep aging to a minimum. Anyone want to do any of that? Oh, great. So metabolic flexibility means switching from burning fats to carbs easily, switching back and forth. Our ancestors did this naturally. Sometimes they did not get 3 meals a day. And they did not stay up late snacking, watching television, or using the internet. I mean, when I was a young person, I would brag I never skipped a meal in my life, even when I was giving birth to my 2 children. So there was something to think about. So metabolic flexibility is about eating to burn fat. And when your body does this, amazing things happen. Most of us just burn carbs into sugar, which is then used or stored as fat. So if you have carbs and you have carbs later in the evening, I remember one of my former clients, she was a chiropractor, and she didn't eat much for breakfast. I think she had like a mid-morning or late morning brunch or whatever, and afternoon snack, and then she would come home and eat dinner with her husband. That was, you know, an important part of her day. But the dinner was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. By then, guess what? I mean, does anyone know how sumo wrestlers gain weight? They stuff themselves with food and then they go sleep on it. But anyhow, so I want you to know that burning carbs can easily lead to, or eating carbs can easily lead to them being stored as fat. So I think that we're going to just tweak some normal habits that we have to teach your body to burn fat and feel more energy. So we want to have low carbs and more fat in our meal only 1 day or 2 days a week. And low carb is not good for long periods. I know a lady who had a cancer diagnosis and she really went on a low carb diet, but it was like she didn't allow herself hardly any fresh fruit or anything. But, you know, fresh fruit is really healthy for you. And so are vegetables. I think that she was very hard on herself about fruit. So it's good to cycle between low carb and healthy carbs. So, and my healthy tip number 1 for you tonight is to eat healthy fat first thing in the morning with your breakfast. So a tablespoon or 2 of healthy fat. I eat a tablespoon of coconut oil and probably a teaspoon or more of some kind of nut butter every morning for breakfast. Another thing about metabolic flexibility is eating in an 8 or 9 hour time frame. Has anyone heard about eating in a shorter time frame? Yes. That's Dr. Mercola straight out of his mouth. Eating in a, so I would recommend not eating right away when you get up. You can drink water or green drinks, but I usually eat about 2 hours after I get up in the morning. And I finish eating probably 6:30 or 7 at night. So that I'm not eating at least 3, I go to bed around 10:30, 11 at night. So I'm not eating for 4 hours before I go to bed. So that's not depriving yourself too much. I call it, tweaking things and optimal health. So like I'll repeat, don't eat meals over more than 9 hours, 9.5 at the maximum. And don't eat 3 to 4 hours before bed. And switch between burning fats, eating more fat 1 or 2 days a week, and lower carbs. And eating healthier carbs the rest of the week. 5 days a week, 5 or 6. They call this keto fasting, and I teach this. So my tip number 2 is to eliminate unhealthy fats completely. I think we've been all indoctrinated that sugar and processed foods are bad for us, but do you know what the number 1 cause of inflammation in the body is? I mean, sugar is a big one, but even worse than sugar. Anyone know? Mercola talks about it all the time. Anyone know what's worse than sugar causing inflammation and causes mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular, a lot of issues. Well, if no one knows, I'll share. It's eating unhealthy fats. So what is an unhealthy fat? Anyone know? Name one. Come on, Linda, you should know. What's an unhealthy fat?
Trans fats.
Yes. Can you name one?
Lard.
Okay. Yes. We absolutely, but anything else? They call them PUFAs.
Oh, okay. I was thinking hydrogenated.
Huh?
I was thinking hydrogenated fats.
Yes, that's true. So hydrogenated are artificially created through a chemical process of creating hydrogen bonds, but PUFAs means polyunsaturated fatty acids. So anyone know one? I'll share some. Corn oil, canola oil, and soybean oil. And these are also genetically modified unless they say organic. But even if they are organic, they're very, very harmful, cause a lot of inflammation, and can cause a lot of dysfunction in your mitochondria, in your energy, and all of that. They're worse than sugar. So, and I looked, my granddaughter was here and bought, a organic bottle of dressing from Whole Foods. And it said organic, but I looked at the oil in it and it was canola oil. So canola oil is a polyunsaturated, and I don't have a picture, but a polyunsaturated means there's a carbon atom and then you have bonded hydrogen bonds. So you have hydrogen atoms, but some of the bonds there's nothing there. So they call them unsaturated, means that they grab or create free radicals in your body because they can grab hydrogen ions, negative ions from your body and cause inflammation. So there is an oil that's monounsaturated and that's good for you, and that's olive oil. Olive oil is good for you. So, I mean, even things like I have, I wouldn't recommend Chips, on rare occasions, you can probably treat yourself to chips, but a lot of chips have like safflower or sunflower oil. And that is a polyunsaturated oil. So you don't want to get too much of that. And like I said, these polyunsaturated oils cause inflammation and they're worse than sugar. So just read your labels. A lot of processed foods will have polyunsaturated oils. And some of them, I mean, if you really get into junk foods, they will be hydrogenated too. So stay away from that. So I just want to talk a little bit about your mitochondria, which are your energy factories. And we've all heard about, I think, your metabolism. And that some people have healthier metabolism or all that. And one of my teachers has said that mitochondrial dysfunction is present in a lot of disease. And it's not so much about your metabolism, it's about your energy factories inside your cells. That's your mitochondria. And each cell has probably like 100 of them. And as we age, we can lose some of those mitochondria. But we can also regenerate or grow new ones. So that's good news, right? So I want to talk just about a little bit about insomnia. I think it's becoming more common. And according to research, 30 to 40% of people suffer from insomnia in the US. That's 50 to 70 million people. And I want to say that working a night shift, it can put you at risk too for not just mitochondrial dysfunction, but, diabetes. I used to know a nurse who worked a night shift and she'd stay awake drinking Diet Coke. Guess what? She developed diabetes too. But anyhow, so lack of quality sleep can zap your energy. And quality is even more important than the hours of sleep. And I would just suggest that, and I'm not always good at that, there's ways of blocking that blue light energy from your computer or your cell phone later at night, to stay off your computer at least 2 or 3 hours before bedtime. And that blue light causes your sleep rhythm to be disrupted. It disrupts, I think, a hormone called melatonin, which starts to build up in the evening, which causes your body to slowly shut down and go to sleep. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I go to bed and I have trouble going to sleep once in a while too, and I would suggest that you go to bed at a reasonable hour, 10:30, 11, whatever works for you. I mean, if it's 12, fine. I know one lady, I think she said she takes a nap or something. And then she gets her second wind about 4 or 5 in the evening, and she stays up till, I don't know, 2 in the morning or 3. I don't recommend that, but I've heard that sometimes happens for people, but I will tell you that it causes something called adrenal fatigue, which is really a disaster for your energy but it is reversible. So anyhow, some people find relief with melatonin to sleep better. But your body produces melatonin naturally in the sunlight. So I know sometimes it's harder when we live up in the cold winter to get sunlight, but sunlight helps the body produce melatonin naturally. And I recently had a potential client talk to me about lack of energy. And I found out she was on 2 medications, one of which was for memory issues. And these medications can cause, and one of the side effects is fatigue. But I just heard talk just yesterday, I think, about from a chiropractor that ashwagandha. Anyone heard of ashwagandha? It helps with sleep. It also helps with your mood, but it does help with sleep. So it's interesting to know that. So exercise, I just talk a little bit about that. It doesn't have to be strenuous or even every day. I do yoga twice a week. I walk. I do the nitric oxide dump. Exercise is not a way to necessarily release weight, but it is good to maintain healthy mitochondria. It is good for your overall health, and it'll help you in the long term. But exercising too much can actually prevent weight loss too. So if you're stressing yourself too much, exercising too much can be stressful. So, and I just suggested before, sunlight daily, vitamin D supplement. I supplement now with vitamin D and vitamin K, because vitamin D is absorbed better when you have a good supply of vitamin K. And there's different kinds of vitamin K too. I won't go into that, but I think it's vitamin K2 that is the one that helps the body absorb calcium better. So I did talk about your mitochondria. There's 100 of them in every cell. They often become dysfunctional as we age, but we can rejuvenate them. How's that? And the process that it's called hormesis, and that means just a fancy word for stressing your body a little bit. You don't want to stress your body too much. So exercise, moderate exercise is good. Can anyone think of another way to stress your body that's healthy for it? Has anyone heard about like Wim Hof cold showers or going out in the cold? It's a minor stress. It can help the body. I take like a cold shower like for 1 minute. I take a hot one, then a cold, but yeah. Fasting or skipping meals. You can skip 1 dinner a week or whatever. That's a mild stress, and fasting is amazing for the body because it allows the body to go through a process of taking out toxins and releasing dead cells and debris from your body. When you're sleeping, that happens automatically. But if you go to bed on a full stomach, probably your cells are more into, digesting and trying to figure out what to do with those calories. So they call it autophagy, AUTOPHAGY, means that when you skip a meal, even 2 meals, whatever. When you skip a meal at night, I wouldn't recommend, I mean, when you eat breakfast is up to you, but skipping a meal in the evening helps the process of autophagy, meaning that your body isn't using its energy to digest your food or assimilate it. Your body is actually getting rid of toxins and dead cells and debris out of your body. So now I'm going to talk about your emotions and beliefs, limiting beliefs. So it's interesting to realize, and I really never thought of it so much. I mean, when I learned theta healing, I did learn that there were certain beliefs that I had that caused me to have a tendency to gain weight. And when I went to a psychosomatic class with a teacher in Costa Rica, she took one look at me and said, "You have the body of someone who bends over backwards to help others." And I thought she was so brilliant. I said, "Yeah, that's me." So how did she know that? So the body reflects our subconscious feelings and emotions. And when people understand this and their feelings, they have a better understanding of how this affects your weight. So not everyone is overweight in every part of your body. So for me, it was my third chakra. And that's my midsection with a lot of weight. And I had some blockages there. And the third chakra controls your knees and ankles too. So I have some knee challenges as well. So the third chakra is about confidence, expression of your personal identity, and personal needs. So if you're taking care of others all the time, your third chakra, like me, would be around your waist. It's your elbows, your knees, and ankles. And fear of stepping out or need to hold ground, rigidity and bending, like the knees and the muscles around the knees. So sometimes I've seen women like with smaller pelvises but huge chest. Anyone ever seen someone like that? Big chest. And maybe upper arms are really large. That is the fourth chakra. That's the heart chakra. So all of this and the upper arms, the heart chakra. So when you have a lot of extra weight there, that means that they may find it hard to accept or receive love. The emotions can be assertive or even aggressive. They find it hard to share their true feelings. And if you find a person who's really twiggy, a twiggy body with let's see. I talked about men with large chests too. So, okay. A thin, twiggy body, contracted chest, and weak upper arm shows a heart chakra that lacks depth. The person is low in energy. Emotions are withheld, especially from an early age. This person has a lack of feeling loved, maybe inflexibility in expression of the emotions. A sense of collapse, insecurity, and depression could be present. They find it hard to give love, and hold a sense of emptiness. So if you have flesh, extra flesh, and the first chakra, you know, some women have extra huge hips. That's the first chakra. I won't go into all of them. Then the throat, a lot of flesh around the neck means that even if you talk a lot, you might not be expressing your true feelings. You're holding back expression of your authentic self, your own truth. Thyroid issues are related to the throat chakra. So there's a lot of limiting beliefs, and I know how to access limiting beliefs. Linda knows this. I'm a theta healer, so I'm very good at what you call muscle testing. I can immediately know if you have a subconscious belief about, you know, negative subconscious that your conscious mind doesn't know it. And that was a big aha for me, to learn that my conscious mind, you know, like says, I love myself, but your subconscious isn't in harmony with that. You have what I call a limiting belief, and your conscious mind doesn't know about it. So I have a free gift on my website. It's about releasing blocks to loving yourself, because I think that's so important too. And when I teach releasing weight, it's about loving and accepting your body as well, all aspects of yourself. So it's important to release some of these limiting beliefs, also so that your weight, when you release it, doesn't come back. So one of my teachers, the one in Costa Rica, said, your issues are always in your tissues. So emotions that are suppressed will cause your body. She could read your body like a book. She knew. Amazing things. So why are fat cells resistant to releasing fat? Anyone know? Yes? All right. Fat cells store toxins. So if, you know, toxins are eliminated, you know, hopefully in some ways through your urine, your stool, all of that. But sometimes they are, the body needs to, they're very harmful. The body will encase them and lock them up inside fat cells. And this is a protective measure by the body to protect you from toxins. And glyphosate, anyone know what glyphosate or Roundup is? Okay, well, Dr. Mercola talks about it all the time. And glyphosate is sprayed on a lot of our crops, especially the GMO ones like corn, soybeans. It's sprayed on wheat and oatmeal. So you have to buy those organic. So it's sprayed not when the wheat is growing, really. It's sprayed to desiccate or dry the wheat so it doesn't get moldy before they process it into like bread or whatever. So, and glyphosate is huge. It's very, very toxic. It could be in your gut, in your brain, causing a lot of things. I think a lot of people with Parkinson's have a lot of toxins in the brain, you know, from agricultural workers are especially susceptible to Parkinson's. And I read, I think it was Mercola said that there were a lot of children born to pregnant women they called it Zika virus, where they had, were born with abnormal brain structures. But there was evidence that some of these pesticides that these pregnant women were working in the fields with were causing some of this damage, causing damage to fetuses. So I know it was in National Geographic, I think in 2003 or 4, I'm not sure what year it was, but you can find the study. It's on the internet. It's called Body Burden in Newborns. That they did studies on umbilical cord blood of newborn babies. They sent it to some special laboratory in Canada, and they found over 80 serious toxins, including like flame retardants and things like that. And the mother, these newborn babies had these toxins from their mothers. So they're not coming into the world. I mean, my daughter works with autistic children with serious issues, and it's definitely increased a lot in the last 30 to 40 years. So we know now why fat cells don't want to release fat sometimes. So I won't go into all about what to do about it, but that's why. I know how to get rid of glyphosate and a lot of toxins, metal toxins too. But I want to tell you about parasites, because this is very important, and your doctor doesn't know about parasites because they're not trained anymore to really detect them. And they're there. They've been there for ages, and in our ancestors and in us. So there's one that I find very common in people. I'm a parasite expert, and it's mycoplasma, and it often affects your joints. That joint could be, your back is a joint, your knees, hips, all of those are joints, and they attract certain parasites. And it's, there's toxins too in the joint, but parasites can cause fatigue, heart disease, depression, diabetes. They can cause arthritis. And some naturopathic people are trained to eliminate some of parasites, but a lot of times there's different stages and life cycles for these parasites, and getting rid of them, eliminating them completely can be a challenge. So what I use is a zapper, and I use herbs to eliminate them from the gut. And if you can't be zapping is electronic, a small amount of electric current, very low. The frequency of harmful parasites is different than the frequency of beneficial ones. So the harmful parasites have a lower frequency. And that's why you can use electronic instruments to eliminate them to some degree. I always combine it with herbs for the gut and the whole body. It's a whole comprehensive protocol. I was trained by Dr. James Overman, an Amish naturopathic doctor who wrote one book in his life. Was quite a book. It's called Overcoming Parasites Naturally. So like I said, traditional medicine, I've seen it all the time. They are trained to focus on drugs and surgery, that eliminates symptoms, but doesn't really help you. I mean, do you know of anyone that traditional doctor knew how to eliminate arthritis, for instance? I mean, I have so many cohorts, friends my age, who have not just one joint replacement or two, they've had 3, even 4. So they say that over 75% of those in the US over the age of 40 have a chronic illness. I won't go into all of that. Dr. Overman says that certain toxins in the environment allow parasites to thrive. And that's why we have more cancers, there's so many different toxins that I won't even go in, but they can allow things like flukes to reproduce in the human body, which is not usually the case, but certain things like isopropyl alcohol in the tissue can cause certain parasites to complete a reproductive cycle that would normally require like a snail outside host before. But anyhow, I won't go into that anyhow. So there is, like I said, tremendous ignorance on the part of people today and doctors, which is just because there's no, not a lot of money in, eliminating parasites. There's more money in maybe getting a joint replacement or putting you on certain drugs. So I just want to emphasize that I know how to detect them through muscle testing. I'm an expert, and it's not difficult to do. And zapping is very effective, and not everyone can be zapped, because if you have an artificial joint or a pacemaker, you can't be zapped. But the herbal remedies work well, maybe not quite as fast as with the zapper. So drugs also, like I said, a lot of drugs can be considered toxins. A lot of people take things like, I won't go into that, but like, anyone heard of like drugs for too much stomach acid? Yes. Like omeprazole, it blocks stomach acid. It decreases your digestion of proteins. These drugs are never meant to be taken long term, but often people take them for years, and then I've seen clients with severe arthritis in the joints because they're not digesting proteins, and they're on high doses of these, what they call them, proton pump inhibitors. They decrease this acid in your stomach, and that acid is supposed to be there. It's supposed to be acidic because it helps to digest protein. And you can actually get more parasites if you're not digesting, you have that acid there. That acid barrier can also eliminate parasites. So we talked a little bit about arthritis. I could go on and on, but I won't. So I've shared some of my key reasons are why we are not full of energy, why it's more difficult to release weight, especially as we age. Like I said, make sure your oatmeal and your wheat are organic, else they might be full of glyphosate. And Monsanto sold their right to Roundup or glyphosate to a German company called Bayer, and they now are going through a number of lawsuits. But anyhow, What's next for you about releasing weight? So to get started, I would love to support you with like an individualized protocol based on your challenges, based on what limiting beliefs you might have. And some of the beliefs that we have are common to most of us. But, you know, it depends on where you have the weight in your body too. But I would encourage you to book a call with me. You can book an hour for a very small amount of money, or a free call for a half hour. I would love to just support you to just get healthier, to have more energy, to release weight so that it never comes back. I will say that for me, maintaining health is something that I focus on daily. It's not something, you know, I do eat things like pizza, but I don't eat them every day. I went to a church meeting last Friday and they had pizza and I had some. I mean, I do, you know, I'm not afraid to enjoy things once in a while. You know, when there's birthdays, I'll have a small piece of cake, and I make organic chocolate cake. It's, you know, it's not about depriving yourself all the time. It's about being conscious of what's good for you most of the time, so that, you know, you can have a small way to indulge yourself, but it's not something that you do all the time. So reaching out for support is the best way to empower you. And so I just wish you optimal health. I put in the chat a way for you to book a call with me. There's 2 options for a call. Oh, okay. Carol, you asked about the nitric oxide dump. Okay. That's on YouTube. And I will be glad to share it with you. It's I do it every day, twice a day. And it takes about 6 to 7 minutes. It moves all your major muscles. And it's really about maintaining those muscles that we need, especially as we age. So I do extra. So there's 4 movements and you do 3 sets. So I do squats, you do straight arm up and down, and then you do jumping jacks just with your arms over your head. And then shoulder arms over the shoulders, raise them up. Those, you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's great for, I consider it to maintain flexibility as we age, because it moves those major muscles. And I mean, the most I've seen, you know, disability engulf a member of my family, and the things that she lost were the ability to turn in bed, the ability to get out of a chair. And of course, she couldn't bend over at all. But those are important things that we have to maintain if we want to continue to walk and, you know, be healthy. Those, I mean, so anyone have any questions? I will take it off of record.